The phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m., cutting through the silence of my electronics repair shop like a rusty blade. I'd been hunched over a busted television for 3 hours, trying to coax life back into its circuits, while my own marriage lay broken beyond repair in our empty house across town. Find my phone notification. Marta's device. Location: 1247 Lakeshore Drive. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing colder than my wife's affection. Lakeshore Drive was where the wealthy folks built their glass monuments to success. Marta was supposed to be at the office, working late on another crucial presentation that would somehow save her advertising agency from the quarterly budget cuts. 25 years of marriage had taught me to recognize the subtle art of deception, the way she'd started showering before coming home instead of after. How her phone never left her side anymore. The designer clothes that appeared in her closet without explanation, far beyond what her salary could justify. Fixing broken things, I muttered to the empty shop, surrounded by discarded televisions and computers that people had given up on. Story of my life. The notification blinked again, still at Lakeshore Drive. I grabbed my jacket and keys. Time to see what my wife was really working on at midnight. The drive took 20 minutes through empty streets lined with shuttered storefronts and faded dreams. Our Rust Belt city had seen better decades, but certain neighborhoods still gleamed with money and secrets. Lakeshore Drive was one of them. Number 1247 was a modern architectural masterpiece, all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows. Marta's silver sedan sat in the circular driveway next to a black Tesla that screamed tech money. I parked down the street and approached on foot, staying in the shadows of perfectly manicured landscaping. Through the massive windows, I could see them clearly. Marta, my wife of 25 years, laughing at something a younger man was saying. Her hand rested on his thigh as he poured champagne into crystal glasses. The man was Damian Torres, the tech consultant who joined her agency 6 months ago. 38 years old, Harvard MBA, and apparently skilled at more than just digital marketing strategies. I pulled out my phone and started recording. The camera captured every intimate gesture, every kiss, every moment of betrayal that confirmed what I'd suspected for weeks. Marta looked happier than I'd seen her in years. My hands shook as I lowered the phone. 25 years reduced to a 30-second video clip. Walking back to my car, rage built in my chest like pressure in a faulty circuit. The Tesla's pristine paint job seemed to mock me. I pulled out my keys and dragged them along the driver's side, leaving a jagged scar from headlight to taillight. A security camera on the house blinked red. Had I just made my first mistake? I scribbled a note on a scrap of paper and tucked it under the Tesla's windshield wiper. Enjoy the ride, homewrecker. Then I punctured the front tire with my pocket knife and walked away. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Text message from Lana Mitchell, Marta's best friend and the HR director at their agency. We need to talk, now. I saw the security footage. You want to play games, old man? I play dirtier. I stared at the message, then typed back. Game on. The next morning brought the kind of gray sky that matched my mood. I opened my shop at 8, same as always, pretending nothing had changed. But everything had changed. The world looked different when you finally admitted your marriage was a lie. Frank Rodriguez walked in around 10, carrying coffee and the morning paper. My old friend had been running the boxing gym down the street for 15 years, ever since he retired from the police force. He took one look at my face and set the coffee down hard. You look like someone ran over your dog, he said. What happened? I showed him the video. Frank watched in silence, his weathered face growing darker. How long? Don't know. Months, maybe longer. I sank into my desk chair. I've been such an idiot, Frank. All those late meetings, weekend conferences, business trips to cities that don't have clients. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Marta. Hi, honey, she said, her voice bright and cheerful. How's your day going? The casual tone made my stomach turn. Fine. Yours? Oh, the usual chaos. Listen, I'm bringing Damien over for dinner tonight. He's been such a help with the Morrison account, and I thought it would be nice to thank him properly. I gripped the phone tighter. Sure, that sounds wonderful. Great, see you at 7, love you. She hung up before I could respond. Frank shook his head. She's bringing him to your house? Apparently. I stood up and paced to the window, looking out at the cracked sidewalk. They're going to sit at my table, eat my food, and pretend I'm too stupid to notice. Maybe it's time to lawyer up. Maybe. But even as I said it, I knew I wanted something more than a legal settlement. I wanted them to feel what I felt. The humiliation, the betrayal, the complete destruction of everything they thought they could control. That evening, I set the table with our best china and opened a bottle of wine. When Marta arrived with Damien, I played the perfect host. "Damien, so good to see you again," I said, shaking his hand firmly. He was tall and lean, with the kind of confident smile that came from never having to worry about money. His handshake was weak. "Thanks for having me, Jim. Marta's told me so much about you. All good things, I hope." Marta laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Don't be silly, honey. Damien knows how proud I am of your little shop." Little shop, the business I'd built from nothing, while she was still figuring out which sorority to join. During dinner, they sat close together, sharing inside jokes and meaningful glances. When Damien complimented the wine, Marta touched his arm and said, "Jim has such good taste in some things." "Some things?" I asked. "Well, you know what I mean." She waved dismissively. "You're very practical." Damien nodded sagely. "There's value in that. Not everyone can be visionary." I smiled and refilled their glasses. "You're absolutely right. I'm just a simple man who fixes broken things." After they left, I sat in my kitchen and planned my next move. They thought I was harmless, predictable, a small-town shop owner who wouldn't fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The next day, I started making calls. First to my bank, then to my lawyer, then to a private investigator Frank recommended. If Marta wanted to play games, I needed to know all the rules. I also started watching, following, learning their patterns. Damien lived in a smart home in the gentrified downtown district, all glass and steel and automated everything. He drove the Tesla to work, had lunch at expensive restaurants, and met Marta at various hotels around the city. Lana Mitchell was often with them, the third wheel in their conspiracy. She'd been Marta's friend since college, and I'd never liked her. She had cold eyes and a calculating smile, the kind of woman who collected other people's secrets like trophies. But everyone has secrets, even Lana. I started small. Anonymous tips to the agency's biggest client about Damien's inflated consulting fees. A few carefully placed rumors about Marta's expense account irregularities. Nothing provable, just enough to plant seeds of doubt. Within a week, their boss started asking questions. Then I got creative. The company party was held on the rooftop of the Meridian Hotel, 30 floors above the city lights. Marta had insisted I come, playing the devoted wife for her colleagues, while her lover worked the room like he owned it. I nursed a whiskey and watched them perform their charade. Damien held court near the bar, telling stories about his latest project. Marta laughed at all his jokes, her hand lingering on his shoulder, just long enough to send a message. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore," said a voice behind me. I turned to find Robert Chen, Marta's boss. He was in his 60s, old school, with the kind of sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Hide what?" I asked. He gestured toward Marta and Damien. "Your wife and our consultant. Half the office is talking about it. People love to gossip." "Indeed they do." He sipped his martini, especially when someone's been feeding them information. My pulse quickened, but I kept my expression neutral. Information about inflated consulting fees, questionable expense reports, late-night meetings that don't appear on anyone's calendar. His smile was thin. Amazing what people notice when they start paying attention. Before I could respond, Damien appeared beside us. "Jim, great to see you here. How's the electronics business?" "Thriving," I lied. "How's the consulting world treating you?" "Can't complain, though I hear there might be some budget cuts coming." He glanced at Robert, who had already moved away. "Nothing to worry about, I'm sure." I smiled and raised my glass. "To job security, to job security." He clinked his glass against mine, then leaned closer. "You know, Jim, I really admire what you and Marta have built together. 25 years of marriage, that's impressive." "It is, isn't it? Takes real commitment to make something last that long." "Absolutely, and trust. Trust is everything in a relationship." The irony was so thick I could taste it. I couldn't agree more. He started to walk away, then turned back. "Oh, by the way, someone keyed my car last week, slashed a tire too. Can you believe that? What kind of person does something so petty?" "Probably someone who felt wronged," I said. "People do crazy things when they're pushed too far." His smile faltered slightly. "I suppose they do." After he left, I finished my drink and planned my next move. The party was winding down, but the night was just beginning. I followed Damien to the parking garage, staying in the shadows between concrete pillars. He was alone, checking his phone as he walked toward his repaired Tesla. Damien, he spun around, startled. Jim? What are you doing down here? We need to talk. About what? I stepped into the light. About my wife. His face went pale, but he tried to maintain his composure. I don't know what you mean. Sure you do. I pulled out my phone and showed him the video from Lakeshore Drive. Nice place, by the way. Must cost a fortune. He stared at the screen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. How long? I asked. Jim, I can explain. How long have you been sleeping with my wife? It's not what you think. I grabbed him by the lapels of his expensive suit and slammed him against his car. Don't lie to me. I've had enough lies to last a lifetime. Okay. He raised his hands defensively. 6 months, maybe 7. But Jim, you have to understand, it just happened. We didn't plan it. Nothing just happens, Damien. People make choices. I let go of him and stepped back. He straightened his jacket, trying to regain some dignity. What do you want? He asked. I want you to disappear. End it with Marta, find a new job, and get out of our lives. He laughed, a sound devoid of humor. You think it's that simple? You think I can just walk away? I think you better try. Or what? You'll key my car again? Slash my tires? He shook his head. You're pathetic, Jim. No wonder Marta came to me. She needed a real man. That's when I lost control. I grabbed a bottle from a nearby trash can and swung it at his windshield. The glass spiderwebbed, but didn't break. Damien jumped back, shouting for security. You're insane, he yelled. Not insane, I said, breathing hard. Just tired of being treated like a fool. Security guards appeared from the elevator, running toward us. I dropped the bottle and walked away, leaving Damien standing next to his damaged car. As I reached my truck, my phone buzzed with a text from Lana. Strike 2, old man. 1 more and you're out. I typed back. We'll see about that. The next morning brought consequences. Marta was waiting in my kitchen when I came downstairs, her face a mask of cold fury. What the hell is wrong with you? She demanded. Good morning to you too. Don't play games with me, Jim. Damien told me what happened at the hotel. You attacked him. I poured coffee and sat across from her. I had a conversation with your boyfriend. If he felt attacked, maybe that says something about his guilty conscience. My boyfriend? She laughed bitterly. Is that what you think this is about? Some midlife crisis jealousy? I know what I saw, Marta. I have video. Her face went white. Video. I pulled out my phone and played the clip from Lakeshore Drive. She watched in silence, her hands trembling slightly. Where did you get this? Does it matter? The question is, how long have you been lying to me? She stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. You don't understand. You never understand anything. Then explain it to me. Explain what? That I'm miserable? That I've been miserable for years? That I married a man with no ambition, no vision, no future beyond fixing other people's broken junk? Her words hit like physical blows, but I kept my voice steady. So you decided to find someone better. I decided to find someone who sees my worth, someone who appreciates what I bring to the table. And what's that exactly, besides 25 years of marriage vows? She turned to face me, her eyes blazing. I bring intelligence, sophistication, success, things you wouldn't recognize if they bit you. Apparently not, because the successful, sophisticated woman I married wouldn't sneak around behind her husband's back like a common don't. She held up a hand. Don't you dare judge me. You have no idea what it's like being married to someone who's given up on life. Given up? I built a business from nothing. I supported your career when you were nobody. I've been here every day for 25 years. Being here isn't enough, Jim. It was never enough. The finality in her voice told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't a mistake or a momentary lapse. This was a choice she'd made and would keep making. Fine, I said quietly. Then let's make this official. I pulled out a manila envelope and slid it across the table. She opened it cautiously, her eyes widening as she read. Divorce papers? You've already filed? Yesterday, along with a request for a full financial audit of our joint accounts. You can't be serious? I'm very serious. I'm also freezing our credit cards and moving half our assets into a separate account. My lawyer assures me it's perfectly legal. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You vindictive bastard. I'm practical, remember? You said so yourself. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Frank's number. I have to take this, I said, standing up. Jim. Marta's voice was different now, smaller. We can work this out. We don't have to destroy everything. You already destroyed everything. I'm just cleaning up the mess. I answered the phone as I walked to my shop. Frank's voice was grim. We have a problem. Lana Mitchell's been making calls. She's telling people you're having a breakdown, that you're dangerous. Let her talk. It's worse than that. She's been digging into your background. Remember that incident 5 years ago? When you caught her cheating on her husband at the company picnic? I remembered. Lana had been having an affair with a client, and I'd accidentally witnessed them together. I'd told her husband, thinking I was doing the right thing. Their marriage had survived, but Lana had never forgiven me. She's looking for revenge, Frank continued. This whole thing with Marta and Damien, I think she orchestrated it. The pieces clicked into place. Lana introducing Marta to new clients. Lana encouraging Marta to work late. Lana always being there when Marta needed someone to talk to about her difficult marriage. She played matchmaker, I said. More than that, she's been feeding them information about you. Your business troubles, your insecurities, everything she could use to make you look weak. I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. Then it's time to return the favor. That afternoon, I started making my own calls. The private investigator had been busy, and Lana Mitchell's life was full of interesting details. Tax irregularities, questionable HR decisions, a pattern of affairs that went back years. I also discovered something else. Damien wasn't just a consultant. He was stealing client data and selling it to competitors. The evidence was circumstantial but damning. By evening, I had enough ammunition to start a war. I began with anonymous emails to key people at the agency. Just enough information to raise questions. Then I moved to social media, creating fake accounts to spread rumors and speculation. The beauty of modern technology is how quickly information spreads. By the next morning, half the office was whispering about Lana's special relationship with vendors and Damien's suspicious consulting contracts. Marta called me, frantic. What did you do? I don't know what you mean. People are talking, Jim. There are rumors everywhere. Someone's been spreading lies. Maybe they're not lies. This is insane. You're destroying innocent people. Innocent, I laughed. Is that what you call yourselves? We never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me. Every day for months, you looked me in the eye and lied. You brought him into our home. You made me feel like I was losing my mind. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything, Marta. Sorry is just another lie. I hung up and went back to work. There was still so much to do. The confrontation I'd been planning came together like a perfectly executed circuit repair. Every component in its place, every connection tested and verified. I'd spent 3 days learning Damien's smart home system, thanks to information Marta had unknowingly provided. His house was a monument to technology and arrogance, controlled by apps and voice commands that made him feel like a master of the universe. Tonight, he would learn that every system has vulnerabilities. I sent 3 identical text messages at 7 p.m. to Marta. We need to talk. Meet me at Damien's place at 8. It's time to end this properly. To Damien. Marta's told me everything. I want to discuss terms. Your place at 8. To Lana. Emergency. Marta's about to confess everything to Jim. Need damage control at Damien's house. 8 p.m. Then I drove to Lakeshore Drive and let myself in through the back door. Damien's security system was impressive, but predictable. The backup key was exactly where most people hide them, under a fake rock by the garden. The house was a showcase of minimalist design and expensive gadgets. Everything was white and chrome and glass, sterile as a laboratory. I found the central control panel and got to work. 20 minutes later, I heard cars in the driveway. I watched from the kitchen window as all 3 of them arrived within minutes of each other. Marta looked confused. Damien looked angry, and Lana looked suspicious. They stood in the driveway arguing until Damien finally unlocked the front door. Jim? Marta called as they entered. Are you here? I stepped out of the kitchen, smiling. Right here. Thanks for coming. What's this about? Damien demanded. Your message said. I know what my message said. All of them. Understanding dawned on their faces as they realized they'd been played. You tricked us, Lana said. I brought you together. Seemed appropriate, since you've been working together behind my back. Jim, please, Marta started. Let's just what? Pretend this never happened? Go back to our happy little lies? Ondar Premlision. I pulled out my phone and activated the house's sound system. The speakers throughout the building crackled to life. I thought we should all listen to something together, I said. The first recording was Marta and Damien at a hotel bar 3 weeks ago, discussing how to handle the gym situation. Their voices filled the house, crystal clear thanks to the phone I'd left recording in Marta's purse. He's getting suspicious, Marta's voice said through the speakers. Maybe we should cool things down for a while. Or maybe it's time to end your marriage, Damien replied. You said yourself he's holding you back. It's not that simple. There's money involved, property. Then we make it simple. Push him until he does something stupid. Get him arrested, or committed, or just discredited enough that you can divorce him and keep everything. The blood drained from Marta's face as her own words condemned her, but I wasn't finished. The second recording was Lana and Damien, plotting my destruction with clinical precision. Jim's always been unstable, Lana's voice explained. I've been documenting incidents for months. Angry outbursts, paranoid behavior, threats against coworkers. You think that'll be enough? Damien asked. Combined with his business failures and drinking problem? Absolutely. No judge will side with a man having a complete mental breakdown. I don't have a drinking problem, I said conversationally, and my business is doing fine, but thanks for the character assassination. Lana backed toward the door, but I'd already activated the locks. Smart homes were wonderfully controllable when you knew the right commands. Let us out, Jim, she demanded. In a minute. We're not finished with the show. The third recording was the most damning. Lana and Marta, discussing how to divide my assets after the divorce. The shop is worthless, Marta said, but the building has potential. Prime real estate once the neighborhood finishes gentrifying. What about his retirement accounts? Half of everything goes to me automatically. More if we can prove he's mentally unfit. And Damien gets his consulting fees from the agency restructuring. Everyone wins. Everyone except Jim. They laughed together, the sound echoing through the house like broken glass. I turned off the recordings and looked at their faces. Marta was crying. Damien looked like he wanted to hit something. Lana was calculating escape routes. Surprised? I asked. You shouldn't be. I told you I fix broken things. I'm very good at taking apart systems to see how they work. You're insane, Damien said. No, I'm thorough. For instance, did you know your consulting contracts violate your non-compete agreement with your previous employer, or that you've been selling client data to Richardson Marketing? His face went white. And Lana, your creative bookkeeping with the HR budget is fascinating, especially the part where you've been padding vendor invoices and keeping the difference. You can't prove any of that, she said, but her voice shook. Actually, I can. I've been very busy this week. I walked to the sliding door that led to the balcony and opened it. Cold air rushed into the house. It's freezing out there, Marta said. Yes, it is. Perfect weather for a conversation about consequences. I gestured toward the balcony. After you. We're not going out there, Damien said. Then we'll stay here and discuss this properly, starting with how you're going to fix the damage you've caused. What do you want? Lana asked. I want my wife to tell the truth. I want her boyfriend to find a new job in a different city, and I want you to disappear from both their lives. And if we refuse? I smiled and pulled out my phone again. Then everyone at your agency gets to hear those recordings, along with your clients, your families, and anyone else who might find them interesting. You wouldn't, Marta whispered. Try me. The standoff lasted 30 seconds before Damien cracked. Fine, he said. I'll resign. Find something else. Name another city, I added. Name another city, and you'll return every penny you stole from clients. He nodded reluctantly. I turned to Lana. Your turn. Go to hell. Wrong answer. I activated another app on my phone, and every smart device in the house began broadcasting the recordings simultaneously. Televisions, tablets, smart speakers, even the refrigerator's display screen, all of them playing back their conspiracy in surround sound. Stop it, Lana screamed. Apologize. What? Apologize for orchestrating this whole thing. Admit you set up Marta and Damien to hurt me. She looked at Marta and Damien, seeing no support in their faces. I'm sorry, she said through gritted teeth. Louder. I'm sorry I set you up. I'm sorry I manipulated your wife. I'm sorry I tried to destroy your life because you ruined my marriage 5 years ago. There we go. Honesty at last. I turned off the devices and unlocked the doors. You can leave now, all of you. They filed toward the exit like defeated soldiers. Marta paused at the door. What happens now? She asked. Now you sign the divorce papers, and we divide our assets according to the law. No tricks, no schemes, no lies. I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You meant every word, every betrayal, every moment of it. The only thing you didn't mean was getting caught. She left without another word. I stood alone in Damien's pristine house, surrounded by the wreckage of their plans. Through the window, I watched their cars disappear into the night. My phone buzzed with notifications. The recordings had somehow found their way onto social media, tagged with the agency's name and the names of everyone involved. I smiled and deleted the apps from my phone. Time to go home. The annual Chamber of Commerce Gala was held every February at the Grand Ballroom downtown, a gathering of the city's business elite and social climbers. I hadn't planned to attend, but circumstances change. The invitation had come from Robert Chen, who'd recently promoted me to preferred vendor status after Damien's sudden departure freed up consulting budget. My little electronics shop was now handling IT support for half the advertising agency. You should come, he'd said. Celebrate your success. Success, an interesting word for what had happened. I wore my best suit and arrived fashionably late. The ballroom was full of familiar faces, including several former customers who'd suddenly remembered my phone number after the agency scandal broke. Marta was there, of course. She'd managed to keep her job after throwing Damien and Lana under the corporate bus, claiming she'd been manipulated by people she trusted. The divorce had been finalized 3 weeks ago, clean and simple, just as I'd demanded. She stood near the bar with a group of colleagues, looking elegant and composed. The perfect picture of a woman who'd survived a difficult period and emerged stronger. Lana was notably absent. She'd resigned in disgrace and left town, her reputation in ruins. Last I heard, she was working for a small firm in another state, starting over at half her previous salary. Damien had also vanished, reportedly taking a position with a company in California. His smart house had been sold to cover legal fees and client settlements. I mingled through the crowd, accepting congratulations and making small talk. Several people mentioned how sorry they were about my divorce, how difficult it must have been to discover my wife's affair. These things happen, I told them. The important thing is learning from the experience. Around 10 o'clock, Robert Chen took the microphone to make his annual speech about community partnerships and business excellence. I listened politely, nursing a whiskey and watching the crowd. That's when I noticed the young woman near the entrance, recording everything with her phone. She looked familiar. Amelia, my daughter, home from college for the weekend. Our eyes met across the room. She'd been distant since the divorce, torn between loyalty to her mother and the evidence of Marta's betrayal. Tonight, she looked like she'd made a decision. She walked through the crowd toward me, still recording. "Dad," she said when she reached me. "Amelia, I didn't know you were coming. Mom invited me. She thought it would be good for appearances. And what do you think?" She looked around the ballroom, taking in the faces of people who'd whispered about our family drama for months. "I think it's time someone told the truth." Before I could stop her, she walked to the front of the room and asked Robert for the microphone. "Excuse me," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the speakers. "I'd like to say something about my family." The crowd quieted, sensing drama. "Most of you know about my parents' divorce. You've heard the rumors, the gossip, the carefully crafted explanations." She looked directly at Marta, who'd gone pale. "But you haven't heard the whole story." "Amelia, don't," Marta called out. "Why not, Mom? Afraid of the truth?" Amelia pulled out her phone and connected it to the sound system, just as I'd taught her years ago when she helped in my shop. "My father recorded these conversations," she announced. "I think you should all hear what really happened." The first recording began playing through the ballroom speakers. Marta and Damien, discussing how to manipulate and destroy me. The crowd listened in stunned silence as my wife's voice filled the room, cold and calculating. "Amelia, stop this," Marta pleaded, pushing through the crowd. But Amelia had inherited my stubborn streak. She played all 3 recordings, letting everyone hear exactly how the conspiracy had unfolded. When it was over, the ballroom was silent except for the clink of glasses and nervous whispers. "My father never wanted revenge," Amelia said into the microphone. "He just wanted honesty. But sometimes, when people refuse to tell the truth has to speak for itself." She handed the microphone back to Robert and walked toward me. Marta intercepted her halfway. How could you do this to me? She demanded. I'm your mother. You stopped being my mother when you decided to destroy my father, Amelia replied. He may not be perfect, but he never lied to me. Marta looked around the room at the staring faces, the phones recording her humiliation, the complete collapse of her carefully constructed image. This isn't over, she said to me. Yes, it is, I replied quietly. It's been over for a long time. You just refuse to admit it. She left the ballroom with what dignity she could salvage, followed by the few colleagues who still supported her. I walked to the bar and ordered another whiskey. The crowd gradually returned to their conversations, but I could feel their eyes on me. Some looked sympathetic, others impressed. A few seemed genuinely frightened. Hell of a thing, said a voice beside me. I turned to find Frank, dressed in his best suit and grinning. What are you doing here? Robert invited me. Apparently the agency needs security consulting after all their recent troubles. He raised his beer. To the truth, to consequences, I corrected. We drank in comfortable silence, watching the social elite of our small city process what they'd witnessed. What now? Frank asked. I looked around the ballroom one last time, then finished my whiskey and set the glass on the bar. Now I go home and fix something that's actually broken. We walked toward the exit together, leaving behind the whispers and stares and carefully constructed lies. Outside, snow was beginning to fall, covering the city's scars with a blanket of white. I pulled out my phone and deleted the last of the recordings, then dropped the device in a trash can. You sure about that? Frank asked. I'm sure. I don't need them anymore. We reached our cars, parked side by side in the nearly empty lot. See you tomorrow? Frank asked. Probably. I've got a television to fix. He drove away, leaving me alone with the falling snow and the distant sounds of the city. Through the ballroom windows, I could see the party continuing, the guests already moving on to safer topics of conversation. I started my truck and pulled out of the parking lot, heading home through empty streets lined with the ghosts of better times. The radio played soft jazz, and I found myself thinking about the future for the first time in months. Tomorrow, there would be new customers, new problems to solve, new circuits to repair. The work would continue, as it always had, one connection at a time. Behind me, the lights of the ballroom grew smaller in my rearview mirror, then disappeared entirely as I turned the corner toward home. The snow kept falling, covering everything in pristine white, and I drove through it like a man who'd finally learned the difference between fixing things and letting them stay broken. Some repairs, I'd discovered, weren't worth making. Others were worth everything. Ni ada hienweisend voor. Mede medischen rhythm damen jakung deving doaming meds nai kleding.